Hey readers, it's Mr. Marshall at Stony Lane again. How are you? So you are starting a whole new kind of book. You're starting to read a whole new genre. That's a pretty fun genre to read. I think it's called mystery, right? Mysteries are like detective stories where you're always trying to solve a crime and figure it out before the end of the book, right? So those books are really like filled with lots of good plot, right? That means like stuff that happens inside a book. And those are books where you have to do a lot of predicting, right? Predicting kind of all the way through, because that's kind of how you solve the mystery is trying to figure it out one step ahead of what the author tells you. And there's all sorts of secret ways to read a mystery, aren't there? And today we're going to start to do that. Okay. We've done this kind of work before where we have something called the work of readers inside of a mystery, right? It's what readers do when they read mysteries. Okay. There's things that you think about in the beginning and in the middle and in the end, right? So let's do that. Let's do that. We're going to read a mystery together today. This is called The Case of the Missing Carrot Cake. Dun, dun, dun. And so let's think about what sorts of things readers think about in the beginning of their mystery, right? In the beginning of a mystery, we try to think, who is the detective, right? That's the person who is going to solve the crime. And if the detective has a partner, we call that a sidekick, right? Like Batman had Robin, right? Sidekick. Okay. In the beginning, we're also trying to think of other stuff. We're trying to think of what is the crime. We're trying to find out what the problem of the story is right in the beginning. Sometimes we think about that in the middle of a book in other kinds of books, but in a mystery, we think about that right in the beginning. Okay. And one more thing that we try to think of is who is the client, right? That's the person who's asking for the problem to get solved. And one last thing we're going to think about is what is going to happen, right? That's like predicting. It sounds like there's a lot of things to think about in the beginning. There are, right? There are, but some of them are pretty quick. Like you can identify the detective or the crime or the client pretty soon, right? So if you're past the first few pages and you still don't know, then you got to go back and check that. All right, let's try. Here we go. The Case of the Missing Carrot Cake. Let's see what it says. Case file number 1113, The Missing Carrot Cake. 10 a.m., headquarters. Wilcox here, headquarters. Hello, this is Miss Rabbit. How can I help you? I asked. My cake is gone. What cake? I asked. The cake I baked for my party tomorrow. Wait, detectives, do you know what's going on? I think we answered a bunch of our questions already, right? Because we see that the detective is this guy Wilcox, right? The second thing, what's the crime? There's a carrot cake missing. The title tells us that too, right? It's not that hard. Who's the client? Who made the phone call? Miss Rabbit, right? We know a whole lot already. Miss Rabbit is looking for her carrot cake, and this guy Wilcox is the detective who's going to help, right? Okay, let's keep going. The cake I baked for my party tomorrow. Stay calm, ma'am. We'll be right there. I said, Captain, we've got a code 12, a missing cake. We grabbed some cheese donuts for the road and rushed to our squad car. We headed north across the farm, past the pig pen and chicken coop, straight to Miss Rabbit's hole. Traffic was light, only a couple of chickens crossing the road. Chapter 2, The Crime Scene. Here we go. 10:15 a.m., home of Miss Rabbit. We're starting to get into the middle, believe it or not. The beginning is really short. So let's think, what else are we thinking about? What is going to happen? What's going to happen? They're going to come and try and find this carrot cake, and there's going to be clues, right? There's going to be clues inside this story. Okay, so let's talk about what we think about in the middle of the book. The middle's going to be the longest part. It always is. So in the middle of the book, we're going to think about stuff like suspects. Suspects are people who may have committed the crime. And sometimes in books and mysteries, There's more suspects than we can figure out. Okay, so all sorts of characters can be suspects, right? We want to think about something else in the middle of the book called clues, right? A clue is something that sort of helps us figure out the suspect. And the way to figure out a clue is when you see something in the wrong place, or you see something that reminds you of the crime, right? Or when someone does something strange. That's a clue. Okay. All right. And the last thing we think about in the middle is motives, right? We try to link up our suspects. Those are the people that may have committed the crime with the motive of why they would have committed the crime. What would their reason be? What would they want? Let's see what happens. So, chapter 2, the crime scene. Dun dun dun. 10:15 a.m. Home of Miss Rabbit. We parked in front of Miss Rabbit's hole. We didn't see anyone, but we could hear a voice. Down here, called Miss Rabbit. We slid down the rabbit hole and landed in the kitchen. Cake crumbs, carrots, and frosting were everywhere, on top of the floor and all over Miss Rabbit. Detective Wilcox, ma'am, and Captain Griswold, MFIs, I said, flashing my badge. Can you tell us what happened? I pull out my pen and notepad. Note taking is essential for any MFI. I baked a cake for my party tomorrow, said Miss Rabbit, and now it's gone. What kind of cake? I asked. A carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. I wondered which animals liked carrot cake. See, he's thinking like a detective. He's thinking about motives. Which animal would want to eat carrot cake? That's a motive. Where was the cake? I asked. Right here on the kitchen table. I left it to cool, and when I came back, there was a big mess and no cake, Miss Rabbit sobbed. The captain handed her a hanky. Thank you, sniffled Miss Rabbit. When did all this happen? When did all this happen? I asked. Probably between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock this morning. Any guess who might have done this? We're looking for suspects now, right? Any guess who might have done this? I noticed Miss Rabbit was wiping frosting off her pajamas. Her whiskers and her nose. So she had frosting all over her. That's a clue. That's a clue. So we're going to write that clue on a post-it. Ready? So we're going to say Miss Rabbit had frosting all over her, right? We're going to write that as a clue and put that in our notebook. Okay? Let's keep going. No, wailed Miss Rabbit. I don't have a crumb of an idea. The captain pointed to the window. In the distance, Fowler the owl was reading the newspaper in her maple tree. Everyone on the farm knew that Fowler liked rabbits. She liked them for breakfast. She liked them for lunch. She loved them for dinner. Fowler the owl. Suspect, right? That's a suspect. We're not sure why Fowler would have wanted a carrot cake. Right, let's keep going. Does Fowler come around here? I asked. No. She won't mess with me. I have a black belt in karate, said Miss Rabbit with a quick chop of her hind legs. And ma'am, who did you invite to this party? Porcini and Hot Dog. You don't think either of them is the thief, do you? Too soon to tell. I snapped shut the cover of my notepad. The captain checked the door. I checked the windows. There was no sign of a break-in. Could this be an inside job? Wait a minute, readers. Let's think about this. We just got a whole bunch of brand new characters that could be suspects. Let's make a suspect list. Here we go. Let's open up our notebook and think of who our suspects could be. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a chart, a T-chart. So we're going to call this side suspects. And so we've got Fowler, right? That's the owl. We've got Porcini. Not sure who or what Porcini is. And we've got Hot Dog. right? Those are suspects that we have. And you know what? Miss Rabbit might be a suspect herself because she had all that frosting all over her, right? So let's call that Miss Rabbit right there. The column on the left is all our suspects. The column on the right is we're going to call this possible motives. Right? Possible motives. Those are reasons they would have wanted to steal the cake. So let's try to read on. I don't know. Do you guys know any possible motives of why these guys would have wanted to steal the cake? Let's see. We don't know a lot of these characters yet. So let's read a little bit more. Does anyone have a key to your rabbit hole? I asked. Miss Rabbit shook her head, sending crumbs and frosting flying. One last question. Where were you when the cake was taken? I was taking a quick cat nap. A cat nap. Such an odd thing for a bunny to do. I taped off the crime scene. The captain dusted for prints and took photos. This case was going to be a hard nut to crack. A hard nut, indeed. That's where we're going to stop. So let's think about all we've done so far. We've named some suspects. We figured out the crime. Now we have to figure out more clues so that we can know who stole the carrot cake. I'll see you next time.